Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the United Stand. It is Thursday night, and you know what that means. The best show on YouTube is here. Fan Forum is here. Normally on a Thursday night, guys, we're going over what's usually been a bad result for United. It's a bit more chilled, international break and whatnot. Still plenty to talk about. We're going to touch on Pogba to start with. Then, obviously, big bombs being dropped up in the northeast tonight. We'll touch on the implications of what that has on United, because it does have implications on United. Fred out. Does Donny get a start? Everything around moving forward after the international break as well, and everything going on in between. Joined tonight, we have the A-list. We have an A-list tonight. We've got Levin. First of all, Levin, mate, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Look, if there's any investment group, Saudi or not, that wants to take over my finances, welcome.
I'll double that one, actually. Yes, Kev, how you doing there, mate? Protesting green and gold behind you again tonight, still mate. You feeling it?
Still here at Old Trafford. The Glazer out thing has ramped up big time since Newcastle took over. And I'd just like to say I've never, ever been on the A-list. So that is a first for me. So
there you go, mate. I put your wardrobe on the A-list, mate. It's retro classics. We're on Fred tonight, is it? Yeah, I can see that. Beth, how's your week been? Chilled out this week? How's everything down your neck of the woods?
It's been busy. It's been busy, back to uni and everything. But you know what? I've had no United to stress me out, so it's actually been all right.
Exactly. Well, we're going to start the show tonight. Obviously, big news regarding United is one of our big players, Paul Pogba. Romano's had his say. Rumours coming out now that he is getting closer. Well, he's getting closer to thinking about the United project and thinking this might be his best place, his best next contract, because Levin, mate, Paul Pogba's next contract, this big one, probably his last big one, if we're fair, mate, I think. Where are you at with Pogba, mate? Can you see this happening now with what's coming out? Is there a case that he's running out of other options?
That's always a possibility, right? That's always a possibility. In terms of where I stand, I like Paul Pogba. I think he's a very talented footballer. I enjoy watching him play football when he's at his best and he's looking good. I always expected this, Adam, because I thought, with the sort of projects, right? Everyone's talking about projects all around Europe. When you look at the projects we have at United, there's not many other places where I think a player would want to be. And I'm sure there'll be people going, oh, the manager this, but this time we've been playing bad. Sometimes these things, we only see a tiny amount of the general scope of things, right? The fact that we're hearing this sort of even tells me that, even though the results ain't been as good, things behind the scenes clearly must be good if he's still leaning towards wanting to sign a new contract. So it doesn't surprise me. I'm a fan of Pogba staying. I think it's very important that if Pogba stays, we finally do what we've needed to do since he came and recruit the right player to play in the midfield with him. I don't want to see him scrammed out on the left. I don't want to see him out on the right. I don't want to, see him next to Fred or McTominay. We need to, put in some work recruitment-wise. But I'm happy for Pogba to stay.
Yeah, guys, get all your comments in as well in the comment section. We have to obviously honour regular contributors, even though sometimes they do come out with some crazy stuff. Zane, I love you, mate. I really do. Thanks for naming me in this one. Adam, it looks like fourth place is out of the window with the Newcastle takeover. Bring it on at the Emirates. We will have Sterling. I don't know where that's come from, mate. I mean, I'm sure you make up different stories every time the show comes on, Zane, mate. But again, thank you, pal. Thanks for the entertainment, as always, mate. Love you. I do, mate. I really do. But, I mean, Kev, I haven't touched on it there, mate. Is this a chance now to... it's all ifs and buts, but if Pogba does sign, is there a chance to build a team around him now? Like Levin said, buy that player to go next to him and make this statement, because by the sounds of it, mate, what's on the table, he's going to be paid a lot of money. And this is United making their own sort of statement in a way. Is it time to now just say, look, that's to bed. Let's just build this now from here?
He has to assess his options and see what's happening. I wouldn't be surprised if Raiola's sent him a message tonight and just said, hang fire. Newcastle have just been bought out. Let's see what they offer. You might get $5 million a week at Newcastle, something ridiculous. But For Paul Pogba, I think a lot of us... Listen, Manchester United got themselves into this situation. This is what we've laughed at Arsenal for down the years. They've got themselves in similar situations where players have left for free and we've laughed at them. And now the shoe's on the other foot and it's sort of squeaky bum time. It's getting down to that point where Pogba in January could sign a pre-contract with somebody. I think COVID's had a massive effect on the transfer market. And regarding that, where could he actually go for the money that he's going to get? I know, say the likes of Real Madrid, I think PSG wouldn't be able to do it. I know it's a free transfer, but you're going to have to pay a hell of a lot in wages. So for me, Manchester United made the mistake by not sorting this out sooner. And they have to bite the bullet. And what you have to weigh up is a lot of people look and think, let's say it's between 400, 500 grand a week, which is mind-boggling in itself. If you let him go, you're looking at trying to replace him with a player that in today's market will probably be about 90 to 100 million. So you work out that money over a 5-year contract, and that is that money. So Manchester United will want Paul Pogba. And at the risk of sounding vulgar, modern-day football, Paul Pogba is a bit more than a footballer at Manchester United, let's say. Like Cristiano Ronaldo, he sells shirts commercially. You know, he does it off the pitch as well. So United won't want to lose him and build a team around him. We should have probably done this under previous managers, but we have had problems, haven't we? Mourinho didn't take to him. And I think you touched on a great point there, Levin and Adam, by saying about Pogba and the fact that maybe signing this new deal, and if he does, shows that maybe behind the scenes things are all right. Or do you play devil's advocate and say, does he know something else? Has he been told that Ollie is under pressure and that there might be a name that's coming in? Don't know.
Has he been told Juventus and Real Madrid won't go in for him next summer and he has no other options? You know, you never know.
You never ever know. I mean, Beth, one thing this does do is another sort of statement from the club in backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You know what I mean? His coaching staff are getting new deals. He's got his deal at the start of this season. If Pogba signs this new deal, that pretty much is then going there. Well, we are giving you more and more and more tools here. We're giving you what you want. It's like the title of the video, Beth, is like zero excuse for him. He has to make the best paid player near enough in the country the main part of his football team. Surely you don't make statements like that unless you're going to, do you?
No, 100%. It's like, the thing is, I don't think really Ollie has much to do with it. I think Manchester United, they cannot afford to let Pogba go. They've let him go once for free. Letting him go again for free would be massively embarrassing and show the club up again. I mean, I always thought, like Kev said, I thought Pogba was going to sign anyway, because you look at the options. Juventus, you're not really going to win much there. That he hasn't already done. Real Madrid, possibly, but La Liga for me is a sinking ship. PSG again, could they do it? We don't know. And then he's not going to be able to go to another Premier League team, is he? Or else all the Manchester United fans will turn on him. And I don't think many other Premier League teams would actually go for him apart from Newcastle. Newcastle take over. Paul Pogba becomes the main player. They build a team round. Ollie leaves and goes with him. But anyway, so I couldn't see anywhere he could actually go that would be a better prospect than Manchester United. And then people would laugh like, Manchester United aren't winning anything. But if you think about it, yes, we're on a bad run of form. And yes, there is questions over the manager. But there is a project there and there is something building. And I do think we are slowly and surely moving up that ladder. Whether it will be with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, whether it will be with somebody else, I don't know. But for this news to come out that Pogba wants to sign the contract, and from good sources as well, he must have had a lot of information on what's going to happen. I know Mino Raiola's always said Pogba wants a place in this team. He wants a team built around him. He wants a secure position. So they must have promised him that. It can't be on the left because Rashford's going to play there. So this gets me excited because they must have said you're going to play in the midfield. And they're going to have to buy someone to go next to him because we know that no one can do it that are in the team. So I'm just excited to see what happens when Rashford comes back, where Pogba goes to, because it's certainly not the bench. Who's going to play with him in the meantime, I mean, we heard the news about Scott McTominay possibly doing it. That scares me to death. But anyway, but in the future, like, they are going to have to buy players that complement Paul Pogba, and they must have sold him this project. And he's been sold the wrong project before, like when he first signed, and Mino Raiola made that very clear that he wasn't happy. He thought he was oversold it. So for him to finally say he wants to sign the contract, I feel like there has to be a project, and there has to be a big part of Paul Pogba in this team. And I'm happy about that, because I think you play to his strengths like France do. You play to his strengths and give him a little bit of freedom and have that you've got to have a very good defensive mid in there. I do think he would flourish in this team. And I like Pogba. On his days, one of the best footballers you can see. But to get that consistently out of him, we're going to have to build a team around him. And also, who would say no to being the best paid player in the Premier League? I mean, I think that's what's probably got them a bit more excited than the playing side of it.
Yeah, I mean, Levin, mate, to spin it a little bit, do you think Pogba would look at it and go, look, yeah, maybe nothing happens this year. It's not going too well under Ole, but he knows exactly what happened under Jose Mourinho. He knows if it doesn't go well under Ole, then he's always got that next big manager coming in. And it could all change again, mate, for him. I mean, we talked then. It's been muted that obviously he could have heard things. He's been sold something behind the scenes. It's everything that could be going on right now. But as a player, you've got to be fully into what's around you as a team, because managers are 10 a penny. He's seen managers sacked before, so he has to be fully focused and all in on his teammates and what he's got around him. Do you reckon the likes of Ronaldo coming in could have just swayed this decision for him in terms of intent-wise?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would have shown a serious intent to move forward and improve. It's always interesting. I've always wondered sort of how football players perceive teams, right? Because I think that's always the big thing, because we obviously see United and what that is right now. But it's always interesting to me, I would have, even with players who aren't at the club, right? What would Varane have thought of United before joining? Like, what did he think it was? Is he still thinking it's like when Fergie was here, or does he realise what's going on? You know what I mean? I'm always thinking about these things. If I'm Pogba, I'd assume he would see it as like, yeah, like, we brought back Cristiano Ronaldo, right? And I don't know if that's the right thing, right? I think that necessarily makes for the right sort of decision, because ultimately, if he is going to become the highest paid player in the Prem, this has to be for someone who, like, ultimately, it has to be someone who you're building your team around. And we've not built the team around Pogba. Even if you were to buy a defensive midfielder, which I think we still need to do regardless, that isn't, to me, still even saying, oh, this team is a team built around Paul Pogba. And so the question does become, right, is like, does this make sense, right? To have the highest paid player in the Prem, and, your system isn't even really tailored to him to get the best out of him. These sort of questions are going to start to arise, but it's a strong Mertens job, isn't it? It's not mine.
I mean, super chat there, Kev, from Grant. Cheers for that, Grant. We've had this issue though, isn't it? When United bought Sanchez, but the ultimate question that comes out of that is, it's like some fans are simply just looking at it going, how is he seeing consistency enough from this player to actually give him a deal no matter what the money is, mate? Has he done enough?
What's he been there coming up to 5 years? Have I seen enough for him to warrant that? Do you know what? I would say he hasn't, but I have to touch back on the point that if you're going to replace him, what's it? It's going to cost you that. So financially, that's the way that Manchester United will look at it. I understand that comment, but Sanchez wasn't out of contract. It's totally different. The Bosman ruling's there for one thing, and players have took advantage of this in the past. If you are daft enough,
also now,
or financially to let a player's contract run down, they are free to go and negotiate with anyone. They'll get a hefty signing on fee, them and the agent, and the wages are built into what they would think that your market value is worth. So that's why at the minute, Paul Pogba and Raiola can go in and say between 400 and 500 grand a week, because you work it out over 4 or 5 years, you're up near that sort of 90 million mark. So Sanchez was different because I think it was a bit of a panic buy at the time. I think Manchester United thought that if Man City got Sanchez, that was the league over. And United kind of tried to make a statement buying him, but it was ridiculous. It was just total mismanagement. To give him that much money is going to create a rift in, the dressing room. You're going to have other players that were playing week in, week out, putting in 100%, looking at him and going, this fucker's on, £500,000 a week or whatever. He's not done anything. And it was dreadful bit of business that by United.
That's the thing as well, when Pogba gets his new contract, I mean, I don't mind because I think Bruno's like the best thing that we've had in years, but Bruno's going to be like, well, I'm the best player, so where's my money? And then so on. The wage bill just gets higher and higher. Not my money, though.
And that's what you leave yourself open to. You're leaving yourself open to this culture now where one player's going to look. If Pogba signs this now, everybody's going to start doing it. The top players, they're not going to commit, are they?
He has been there for a long time. And like you said, do I think he warrants that money from how he's been from us? Not particularly, but I'd rather him do that than him leave on a free.
Let's not forget, if we're looking at this season and the way that Pogba's been, he's our top assist, isn't he? He's got more assists than season, I think, any other Manchester United player, which I'm going totally off topic, but again, it goes to show, why did he leave him out against Everton? You leave your top scorer and your player who's got the top assists at Manchester United, most creative player, leave him on the bench.
Yeah.
Mate, sorry, mate, on that inconsistency shout there, it's like the Super Chat says there, we've been inconsistent as a club. Can you really say a player's form with the chopping and changing and everything going around him, it's all his fault? Or are you in a boat where you're a professional footballer, you should just turn up on that pitch and play the game? I mean, where are you at with that?
Well, I think the argument around that has become quite reductive, and I think it's very unfair because there is some truth to that Super Chat where, we have been an inconsistent club. You look at Paul Pogba's strengths as a midfielder. Paul Pogba, to me, is somebody who is good enough to where any, director of football or manager who acquires him should be looking, let me build the midfield around him. And I don't think he's necessarily had that at his time at United. I don't think we've done a good enough job of that. And so it's on both sides. I think there's times when he should have been better. There's times when we as a club should have been better for him. So, it takes two to tango in a sense with that. I just wanted to hit on the fact of, talking about like leaving on the free, that kind of thing, right? It's very telling to me that the club very much cares about the brand and the image, because I do think they see it as very damaging if we allow Paul Pogba to leave on a free, because a lot of this doesn't make sense to me, Adam, right? Where we're in like this ongoing negotiation with him, because you look at what Romano was saying, where if it wasn't for COVID, Romano was saying, yeah, Paul Pogba was going to be gone. United were aware that, Juventus were going to come in for him and he was going to leave. So it's like, how do you go from he was going to leave to all of a sudden now we're desperate to keep him? To me, it's really because they just don't want to lose him on a free, right? They don't want that. We saw this summer how much they will do to protect their brand. They knew they could not let Cristiano Ronaldo go play for City, right? They were like, we can't let that happen. We got to protect our brand. We're Manchester United. We got to go and buy him, right? And I think it might even be a similar thing with Pogba, where it's like they just realize we can't allow ourselves to lose a player of his talent on a free. We got to keep him to protect our brand. There's not much about it. Even though I like Pogba, I'll be honest, I don't think there's much about it that, tells me, this is very well thought out. This is, excellent squad building. They're really thinking about the long-term implications of this, because you're right, there's so many question marks where it's like, wage structure. Even though I don't think players would be jealous of Pogba, you sort of never know, right? Bruno could go. We literally know Bruno and Luke Shaw and others are in contract negotiations as well, right? They might go, hold on a minute, Pogba has played, I might want it. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of question marks around this that I think make it a very complex issue. And that's almost a step backwards in terms of when you look at things that Ollie's been credited for, and you look at how we've been, talking about, the structure's improving, they've brought in Murta and Fletcher, but then you have things like this where it's like, so where's that structure now? Where is the clear thought process and the plan? I don't see it right now, but who knows?
Yeah, it's what it is. I mean, it's hard, but one thing I do know is that Paul Pogba is loved by the whole squad. He doesn't cause a problem behind the scenes, I don't think, Paul Pogba. No. I think this is spun a lot of the time, but you see it all the time. Everyone loves Paul Pogba. And think, it's like Levin said there in jest at the start there, with the news of Newcastle and what's happened tonight with the takeover. I just think Paul Pogba's at a stage of his career where someone said it in the chat then, he wants to win something. Newcastle, we're going to touch on that in a minute, and something that could implement us. But Paul Pogba, I think right now, And this is why it's important to him, because he's at that age. And I do feel like Beth said, in a way, realistically, if he's going to win anything now, because he's not going to go to anyone else in the Premier League, Spain is completely off the cards. Forget PSG. Manchester United is his only option. It really, really is. I can't see him going anywhere else. And Raiola's just dragged the arse out of it just to get that nice little bumper for himself at the end, I think. And he will sign on the dotted line. I'm confident Pogba will sign this contract now. I mean,
Adam, out of curiosity, why do you say he won't go to anyone else in the Prem? I'm just genuinely curious, because I always see people say that, but I don't know why they say it.
I just don't see him fitting in at Chelsea in that in a position. Chelsea's midfield is rammed. City's, I don't see him fitting in there under Pep, just because of the way Pep works. And United will never sell to Liverpool. There's no one else for me that Paul Pogba would go to. I don't think anyone else, and no one else out of them will pay his wages. Chelsea possibly.
Despite the rumours about Pogba, I actually don't think he would go to City or Liverpool. I don't think he would do that.
I don't think they'd take him.
Yeah, on top of that, even if they would, I don't think he would go. That might be me being naive, but I just don't see it. I don't see how you could do that. Like, imagine the hate from the United fans that you would get.
But you really get hate from the United fans. That's what I want to hate on, because I know, to be fair, I agree with those things you said, Adam, but I see some people go, oh, he'd be hated and stuff. He's already hated by our fans already. You know what I mean? I think he'd go, you know, oh, well,
I don't think it's a point from our side of it in terms of what we would feel if he went. I really don't think a lot of United fans would be bothered if he goes. I really don't. A lot of fans would be happy to see him go. I disagree. But I just don't think, from the other side of it, I don't see the clubs and the positions and where they're at right now. I don't think Pogba, I think he'd start for all three of them, but I don't think he fits the styles of the other three big teams in the league. I really don't. I don't think he is that type of player for me, and that's why I don't think he's going to go anywhere else. And I think we're all agreed that Spain is dead in terms of La Liga right now. It's not the place to be.
Nope.
PSG pretty much bought what they can. Go on, Kev. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, I was going to say the thing with Real Madrid is that probably would have been on the cards pre-COVID. And now looking at the last transfer window, I mean, it still baffles me as to how Real Madrid even have £160 million pound knocking about to even bid for Mbappe. But it looks nailed on that he's going to go there on a free. So you look at that financially and the package that Mbappe is going to get. I mean, Jesus, that's going to be some deal. So for me, if they sign him, Mbappe goes to Real Madrid, I don't see financially how they could even entertain Paul Pogba.
The only reason they have money is because they've just not bought anyone for quite a couple of years. Like they've spent incredibly low. I think a lot of people thought like with the Super League thing, that financially they were in like ruin. They just really needed the money for the stadium. They have money to spend on transfers. They've just been saving it, right? Which is the scary prospect, because they could go out next summer, get Mbappe on a free, get Pogba on a free, go out and buy, Van Dijk or someone stupid. Yeah, I mean, like they could go out and do a madness next summer, in theory. So
that'd be a pull power to get Pogba, having Mbappe.
Yeah, that would definitely be it. I mean, moving on to the bombshell that did drop with Newcastle. It does implement us. I'm going to bring Beth into this first. But I mean, Pogba, I don't think he's one of them players. But I'm looking at our squad right now and I'm going, if you're a player right now and you see that news drop tonight, are you not on the phone to your agent right now? If you're an Eric Bayer, if you're a Donny van der Beek, if you're a Lingard, if you're a Martial, do you know what I mean? All these players muted. Man, Juan Mata till the end of the season for Newcastle could do a great job. I'm looking at quite a few of our bench and reserve players here going, hang on a minute. First team football here. There's a new project in the making. And by all accounts, there's going to be a new manager by the time the next game comes around. I'm thinking, oh God, no, there's another coach coming in that's better than Ole. I would say Newcastle was where Ole was probably definitely better than Steve Bruce. That's up for debate, obviously. But can you imagine if Newcastle got a Conte and the pull that would have to a certain amount of players? I mean, Beth, as a player, you've got to be looking at what's happening up north and going, you know what? Maybe I should just make a phone call to my agent and see how the water is. You know what I mean? Test the water, because when January comes around, we already know noises have been made for Donny to Everton. Now there's a new player in town and big wages are on offer as well. So these agents' ears have pricked up as well, Beth.
you would be thinking about it as a player, but the only thing I'm thinking about here, and I've not read up on it a lot. I'm going to be honest, I've been really busy today, but with Newcastle, like, are they like bottom of the league now, like 3 points?
Second
like
bottom.
Second bottom of the league, 3 points. The run that they've got, and there's no transfer window till January. So come January, they could literally be rock bottom of the table. That for me isn't a pull. You don't want to go to bottom of the table. Like, you don't, no matter how much money they've got. 2, they've not started the rebuild yet, so you're not quite sure which way it's going to go. I mean, I think we all know that they are going to invest a lot of money. This club's going to rise up because that's what happens when you put money into football. But that hasn't started yet. If it was me, I'd want to have a little look first and see how it starts to go. That's just me personally, because you just don't know. But at the same time, fringe players, I wouldn't actually have that much of a problem if they wanted to go to Newcastle. I mean, they're never going to get played anyway. Ollie doesn't play.
Martial's a fringe player now, Beth.
I wouldn't want Martial to go, personally. Like, I don't know. It's a hard one for me because I do really like Martial, but it's like, where is he going to play?
I'm looking at...
But at the moment, I wouldn't want to sell him. And a lot of people disagree with me on that, but I really wouldn't, because it's like, me and Kev have said it so many times. He's one of them players that you'd sell and you'd regret it, and you'd be like, he'd go off and do so much better. And I do still think there is a player in there. I'm still holding on to it. Whether he can get into the first team, I don't think so. But as a substitute and as someone to come on, and like you see City, they have Mahrez on the bench. They have Ferran Torres on the bench. They have players on the bench that are good. I think Martial could definitely be that for us, 100%.
Kev, Rashford's coming back, mate. Martial's got to be thinking, days are numbered here. Am I looking to Newcastle there if big name manager comes in? If a big name manager comes in, taking into account what Beth just said then, and gets Newcastle playing ball, and then January comes around, you know what I mean? They're in a slightly better position. There has to be some sort of law there as a player to think, you know what, this is, I mean, the riches that these guys have got are just off the scale. Do you know what I mean? They've got 3 years, free pass now at financial fair play because Mike Ashley has kept them on the straight and narrow. They're not in debt. So really, until sanctions come in, they can just absolutely obliterate this transfer window. And for me, I'm looking, I mean, players, for instance, like you would say Martial and Donny were the ones on the outskirts there who have got a half chance. United fans are still holding hope for. The others, I don't think much so. I mean, Mata, Lingard, I think United fans, if they've seen them go, like Beth said, wouldn't be too concerned, Kev. But Martial and Donny and Newcastle are going to come to what I make a bit of a statement here with these new owners. I mean, it would be first team football and under a big project. And I'm sure that they could get some form of clause in a contract if they did go down because they've got that much money, mate. They're not bothered.
I can understand fringe players, right? And we'll even throw Phil Jones in for free if you want to take him as well. But
they're above it now. They're above Phil Jones.
I don't know. Buy Martial and get Phil Jones for free. It's a new special offer that's on at the minute. As regards to Newcastle, right? This moment in time, and I know what you're trying to say, the so-called project hasn't even taken off. But any footballer, any top-class footballer that is considering even getting onto their agent and saying get in touch with Newcastle at this moment in time, that is no ambition to me. No ambition at all.
And it's all player or someone out of favour. You've got mercenaries, mate. They are out there, pal.
Oh, they'll be there and they'll be tapping them up. But you need to sort of calm down. I mean, I've seen the videos today of Newcastle fans outside the ground. Now, to me, I want to look at that and go, that celebration is more to do with getting rid of Mike Ashley. Yeah. That'd be a bit like Manchester United getting rid of the Glazers. I mean, that is, but all the Christmases have come at once because they're now the richest club in the world. So that just even makes it even
it doesn't
more
sound
of a
right,
party.
It doesn't sound right.
We can't handle that one.
Right.
10 times the wealth of Man City. I've just seen the comments.
Newcastle United are the richest football club
Man
in the world.
Man City's owners are worth 30 billion. These guys are over 300 billion.
See, I didn't know it was this big. I didn't know it was this big.
So to put it into perspective, these guys are worth more than every single owner of every single football club in the world.
These guys are going to be coming for the Prem in a few years, you know.
And like I said, I mean, Levin, there's 3 years here of no financial fair play worries because they're straight. Sanctions don't come in until after 3 years. So they can smash it to pieces. And they'll be looking at some of the big clubs because I think that's their realistic targets, mate. Not the big names like Kev said and Bev. I totally agree with that. But there could be a few United players. I mean, Eric Bailly, for instance, Levin. Would he be interested in going Newcastle?
I could see it with Bailly. I think the big thing is for me is that I think a lot of people think, oh, flipping now Newcastle, they're now the richest club. Next year they're going to be in the Champions League or something. It's not going to be that. Well, that's at least how I see it. And obviously, I could be wrong. They could, who knows? Maybe they do go to Conte and go, "You're right, Conte. We heard you're a great manager. We will give you anything you want." And maybe he just goes, "Yeah, why not? If I can get anything I want, sure." But I don't see that happening. I don't think it will be a slow project, right? Because I do think 3, 4, 5 years we'll probably see them competing for Champions League spots. The big thing is that, I'd expect them to do things right. And sometimes doing things right takes time, investing in the training facilities, making sure that's the best, investing in the stadium, making sure, your whole youth academy, your school, these things take time. But in terms of a threat to us, the biggest threat to me, the way I see it, Adam, is not even just like maybe the fringe players that want to leave, because at the end of the day, some of these fringe players have a right to want to leave. Like Bailly's not going to play football for us this year, so I don't have a problem if Bailly wants to go off to Newcastle. The big threat is when it comes to 3, 4, 5 years time, when they are a legitimate top 4, team, which they probably will be. What happens to us? Because Liverpool, City, Chelsea, they all go in order. You assume, I don't know, maybe Tottenham and all bounce back. Leicester might, get better. They've looked a bit rocky with it. Newcastle, things start to look rocky for us, right? And I saw somebody on Twitter go, UEFA's going to have to give the Premier League another Champions League slot. We can't just have 4 slots. We have about 8 teams good enough to play in the Champions League.
Imagine?
Newcastle could go down. Imagine they went down this season.
That's what I was saying before. Imagine if they went down, they've done this takeover. It's going to take them so much longer to try and progress up.
I don't even think it's it. I don't think it's it because it just come a bit back up, right? And the big thing is just like what happens when they are that competitive team, because we know the standards, right? We know the standard at least from the Glazers. Keep us in the Champions League, right? That's what it's been. So if all of a sudden it's now even harder for us to actually stay in the Champions League, there's going to be lots of turnover there, right? So, these are the things I'm looking at in terms of what does the Premier League look like with Newcastle just being like an actual competitive European team. It gets really dicey at the top there.
There's no guarantee.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was going to say there is no guarantees financially in football. I understand that Newcastle are now the most wealthiest club in the world, and even just saying that sounds absolutely crazy. But even look at our own club, Manchester United. Since Sir Alex Ferguson's left, we've spent £1 billion?
Yeah,
and what have we got to show for it? FA Cup, Europa League, League Cup.
Kev's leading us down the coaching.
Success, but
Kev's leading us down the coaching debate again. Beth, I want to ask you on something Levin just touched on there. We know this is a long project. Even they're being realistic about it. Even though they said we want to win the league in 5 or 10 years, I would say in between 5 and 10, because that's how long this is going to take. But does that then narrow the gap in terms of time for us to actually get our hands on a piece of silverware? And where do you think Ollie will be by the time that comes around, Beth? Because when Newcastle get in, when Newcastle get into that top 4, which with that money they will do, it's inevitable. Obviously, it makes it harder for us. I just feel like it's adding more and more pressure, and I don't want to go back to the title of the video again and ram it down people's throats, but we literally now have to strike. We've got one of the best squads in the league. We know this, and time is ticking now. More and more pressure is coming from all angles now. The teams in the Premier League, like Kev said off air, there's no crap teams in this league anymore. You don't just have any God-given right to go up and win trophies. Other than Norwich, Man United. You know what I mean? Yeah. You've got whipping boy. I'm not even going to get into that because we've not played him yet. So I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there and then getting egg on my face with that one. But Beth, I mean, this is getting a very, very competitive league now. And one of the whipping boys, Newcastle, are going to get stronger as well. I mean, we've got enough, I think. We've all said we've got enough in this team. But this now, it's more and more pressure on Ole. And the excuses have to stop. He has to really strike now. And these next few games, when they get into it now, going forward, he has to start producing football. We have to start winning games that we should be winning. We have to really be pushing. I spoke to someone today, journalist today. I won't mention any names, well known. And even he said, I've been Ollie in. I've backed Ollie in what he's done. He's done great work. But unless United are within 5 or 6 points in the title race this season, then he's got to go. It's as simple as that now. This is the season, Beth, right now, where he has to do something. I mean, I'm just going to ask this question to you. I mean, Leicester coming up next, Beth. This is one chance I think Donny's got. No Fred. We know this now. He's not going to get back in time to play. This is, I think, Donny's last chance and Ollie's last chance to make it work for me, because I don't see it happening anytime past this.
No, 100%. Like, going back to the Newcastle thing, you said for 5 to 10 years they could win the league. I mean, how long have we been trying for? We've chucked $1 billion at it, and we've not been able to do it. And it's like, you can chuck all the money in the world at it, but you've got to have, like you say, the coaching and the experience to go and do that. And like you said, time is running out. We've not won the league in how many years is it now? Like, how many years since we've won the league?
2013.
So, like, oh God, don't do my maths on me.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
anyway, how many years has it been? So you think about that, looking at that, you've got to think in the next, I've said from now, in the next 3 years, you've got to be looking at like trying to win the Prem, preferably within the next 2. I say at the start of the season that I think we can win the league. I always say that, I'm trying to be positive. But looking at realistically now, I already think, looking at the way things have gone, you're kind of already getting yourself out of the title race. Next year, could it be the same thing again and the same thing again? Like you said, we've got to have that improvement this year where you can really show you are going for that league and you are close to it. Like, you look at it at the end of the year and you think, oh, well, if you just improve that and that this next year, then you'll get the league. You've got to be in touching distance of it. Do I think we're in touching distance now? Honestly, no, I don't. I watch Liverpool, I watch City, I watch Chelsea. They're ahead of us, 100%. The way they play, they've all got clear visions. They've all got clear styles. We've said this before. We've said it time and time again. And for me, a lot of people say, oh, it's because we've not got a CDM. That can't be an excuse. City don't have a striker. Klopp's made it work with having little money over the last 3 years. Like, you've got to look at situations, and sometimes you've got to come back to the coach and you've got to show them that they've got to make it work. You've got Donny van der Beek, you've got Matic. Yeah, it's not a massive array of defensive midfielders, but you've got options to work with, and Ollie's not working with these options at the moment. If he was, I'd be a lot more understanding. But like you said, Donny van der Beek, a great player that we've not seen. Fred's now out. We saw what's happened before when, like, McTominay was out, he played Fred and Matic. Like, it's not worked. A lot of the time when he tries to go for different combinations and just leave these top players out, it doesn't work. And like you said, he said Donny was going to get a chance. If there's any time for him to get a chance, it's got to be now. I mean, you've seen on Twitter, Ollie still doesn't want to let Donny go in January. Well, if you don't want to let him go, let him play, let him get some consistency. But you know what? Even if he did come in at the Newcastle game, he played well. We all know he'd be out the team again. For me, giving Donny a chance is giving him like 6 or 7 games in a row. Like, that is what it is for me, because it's not fair to ask him to come in, do a job, and then bench him for the next 10 games. Like, that just isn't fair. If he wants to give Donny a chance, if he played well in that Newcastle game, personally, I don't think he'll start him, which I think is unfair. But if he does start him and he plays well, he's got to keep him in this team. He needs to stop with this cycle of, you get rewarded if you play badly, and if you're not one of my favourites, you go back on the bench even if you play well. That needs to stop. So on our next game, I hope to see Donny play, and I hope to see him get a chance, but I don't know if he will. And this kind of management is something that could eventually let Ollie down in his job, in my opinion, because playing that midfield over and over again isn't going to get you near a title. And we've discussed that so many times, but Ollie needs to be looking towards that, because a lot of people are getting on his back right now, just purely due to the style of football. Like we said before, obviously results tell a story, and yes, you can lose games, but it's the way you win and lose. And I don't think any of us are really happy with the way that we're doing that in the minute. With all them attacking players as well and all them great names, you've got to be doing something.
That's it. I mean, Levin, mate, Fred out, perfect opportunity for him. He's got no excuse, but I mean, I could easily see him putting Matic in there alongside McTominay, which I think is the one horrible combination that we've got right now. But I'm looking at it now. I'm seeing everything going on and seeing other teams improve and seeing what Everton did to us just simply because of the midfield. I do feel like this is Ollie's and Donny's last chance, mate, with these opportunities with international breaks, because we've got another one in November. It's going to be the same scenario because Brazil are playing every time on the Thursday night, and Freddie's part of that Brazilian team, mate. So, honestly, if he doesn't play him, I don't see any other competition he's going to play him in because it's so important. So, do you feel this is his last chance now for both of them to make this work?
I want to say yes, because I want to hope he actually gets the chance, but I don't think he will, right? So, it's the last chance. I don't actually think we're going to see much of him nevertheless. So, in that sense, I guess no. I don't know how to answer that, Adam, just because I just don't think he's actually going to get the chance that people think he should get with Fred being out. I don't think he will.
This is the problem, isn't it, mate? We don't know how to answer questions on a player who's lost his place in the international team since he's come to United. The regression for so many players is mind-boggling. It really is. And Donny is top of that list simply because, Kev, he's not played games, mate. And as long as Fred and McTominay are fit, I mean, I don't even know what midfielder in the world we bring in right now who Ollie wouldn't play Fred and McTominay ahead of. He has to be a superstar, mate.
Here's the thing, right? If Donny van der Beek plays against Leicester, scores a hat-trick and gets a 10 in the player ratings, he will not play the next game if Fred is fit.
Do you know what? I think that will send, I don't know what you guys' opinions, if Fred plays against Leicester and has a great game, then I think that will be where Ollie loses a lot of the fans, if he does.
You mean if Donny plays against Leicester?
Yeah, and has a great game and then gets dropped again, like you said, and like Levin said.
But I think that's where he'll lose it. We've said this before. Anytime Van der Beek's played, I'd say he's never got lower than a 7, right? There is no reason to take him out. If you want momentum and to get a player into a team, you have to give him games. The same way that he's doing it with Sancho now, this stop-start kind of bring him on, bring him off and all that. You need to play him and give him 6 or 7 games. That's what he should have given him. Look at Man City with Grealish, right? He's had some all right games, had some really good games, but Pep is playing him in the team and letting him get used to the system, the way that Manchester City play. He's not going to hang him out to dry. If he has a bad game, he's not going to take him out the team. And Solskjaer should be doing the exact same. Now, when I say about Van der Beek's never had a bad game for United, I've certainly not seen it unless anyone wants to pick me up on it. And for the likes of Fred, I've seen Fred play games for Manchester United where he should never play for the club again. He should be on an aeroplane and just sent off to the Antarctic and just dumped there. That might be a bit harsh. But,
you know what I mean? I was going to say, where you going with some big man?
Yeah. But he played really bad games for United. Embarrassingly bad, where you've been so disappointed that he's wearing that red shirt at United. You're kind of embarrassed and you think, this lad can't even do the basic stuff. Whereas Van der Beek, and we've discussed, he's come up through the Ajax academy. He knows how to play football. He's a very, very intelligent footballer. But that's for the coaching staff, again, to implement him into the team and get them players on the same wavelength around him and work to them strengths.
Yeah, I mean, strengths are built on training ground, Levin, mate. Rumours, well, it's not rumours, actually. Mike Phelan signed a new deal, mate. Is he the man to take us forward, pal? Just give me your opinion on Mike Phelan quickly, Levin, mate. Is this where we're going and breaking down?
I don't know what Matt Phelan does, bro.
Look,
it's weird with Matt Phelan because I think you look at, obviously, the one thing I will always, be honest about is I feel bad when I compare people to Fergie, just because I think Fergie is an exception to the rule. He is an anomaly. There will never be a manager as great and as successful as him, in my eyes at least. But you look at Fergie, and I think he was very much, proactive when it came to the staff and the people who he had in his coaching staff, and switching up and having different assistant managers and all that, and nothing about really the current setup we have says that Ollie even would think to do that, right? They've all been extended, or Mac Phelan's been extended. There's talks like McKenna and Carrick are going to be extended as well, and so what that says to me, because as much as I know a lot of people think that they really are idiotic and can't see the problems in the team, what that says to me is that they see the problem. I think that they can see the problems, and I like to hope that they see the problems and they think they can fix them. If they didn't think they can fix them, then you would have to have conversations about, okay, move on now. But if they think they can fix the problems, I need to see that. Do you know what I mean? I need to see that, because some of the problems we have in our team are things that have been issues for over a year now almost, right? You look at some of the issues we have where, yeah, a good CDM will come in and help us, but we're not gonna just become title contenders. I hate to break it to people. We wouldn't just become like title contenders instantly just because you got a good CDM. There's fundamental flaws in the system, you know, and these things need to be addressed by the coaching staff, and that, you know, includes Ollie, Mike Phelan, McKenna, whoever it is. So, you know, there needs to be, you know, change on their part. There needs to be significant improvement.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, mate, I mean, Phelan, yeah, he managed alongside, or didn't manage, he was stood alongside Sir Alex Ferguson. McKenna, zero experience at this level. Same with Carrick. I mean, Olef, I mean, let's say at the top level, nothing. And this squad, for me, I don't know your opinion, Kev. I mean, Levin just said there, it's unfair to compare to Sir Alex Ferguson. But one thing you can compare is I think this squad is better than the one that won the league last, mate. So somewhere there's a common denominator, and I've got to put it down. There's only one way I can point my finger, mate, at the issue, and that is on that training ground and on that sideline, mate. And it needs rectifying because he's not changed it up at all, mate. His coaching staff is the least experienced, I think, in the whole Premier League.
And look at who we're all discussing, right? The midfield, and that has been a massive dilemma for Manchester United. We have been on a week in, week out on about Fred and McTominay. How does Fred get in this team? Blah, blah, blah. Going on and going on. And who is sat on that bench? You know, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Possibly one of the best midfielders of his generation. One of the best midfielders I've seen in a Manchester United shirt. And there might be a lot of youngsters or whatever in the comment section when I say Michael Carrick that might not know much about him or what he brought to Manchester United, but he was absolutely brilliant. We'd do anything to have prime Michael Carrick back in this Manchester United team. Vision, spraying passes, always going forward, didn't have to jump in, not a tough tackle or anything, just read the game, intercepting and all that. He's on the bench with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's on the coaching staff. You know, it does seem to be jobs for the boys, and it's nothing against Michael Carrick. But if this midfield area is an area that we've all been carrying on about for so long, then surely would Michael Carrick not be taking these midfielders off to one side? Is it not his job to coach? You know, get some kind of cohesion in that midfield and that? I don't know. I'm lost with it. The appointment of Darren Fletcher, it all sort of is jobs for the boys. But I will say on Mickey Phelan, he wears a cracking pair of shorts. I love that.
I knew the retro shorts would come into it.
I'd give him a 10-year contract that time when he popped the balloon and scared the shit out of like Ferguson at Stamford Bridge, because it's one of the finest moments you will ever see in football. If you've not seen
Premier League years
Mike
classic.
Phelan balloon.
I've seen that clip, yeah.
Everyone's seen it. Beth, you've seen that, and you must have seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It is classic. It is classic. I mean, on the coaching setup, Beth, we always moan about systems, no style of play. I mean, honestly, I'm racking my brain. And again, it's another question I can't answer. And I don't know if you'll be able to. But why we prolonging these contracts for these coaches after years of what can only be described as failure, unless top four is our main goal now?
Yeah, I do like Matt Phelan. I do like the coaches, but
we
for
all
me,
love Phelan.
One
we all love
thing
him,
I can't overlook is how you can look at that midfield for this amount of time and not try and do anything about it. Like, I just think anyone with a football brain and coaching ability would do at least something about the midfield. I mean, like, I'm not saying you can coach all of them players to play that role, because you can't, because sometimes you've either got it or you've not. But they've not even gone into the market prioritising one. And they're the ones that discuss and decide what they need. And then it goes to Ollie and then it goes to Murto, etc., etc. But it's like, I can't trust coaches that generally don't think there's a problem with that midfield, unless they're waiting for like Declan Rice or something, which I think's maybe a little bit like dangerous to do in the state that our midfield's in. And it's just like, the way, like you said, the same problems arise every game. We do the same things well, which is like obviously individual stuff, but the main issues like set pieces, to be fair, they've got better this season since we brought in the set piece coach that isn't to do with like, you know, all the mates rate stuff. So that's got better since it's come in, but all the same stuff like breaking down teams, positional sense, getting the ball, transitioning through the midfield, playing out from the back quickly, all these things that we've had issues with, they're not getting fixed. So that makes me think, what are you doing on the training ground? I was really excited to see Mason Greenwood possibly turn to centre forward. I'm not blaming them because we got Cristiano Ronaldo in, but that progression's kind of halted. We're no longer bringing a youth player through, which I always think we should be doing, and have at least one youth player coming through. And there's just a few things that I'm not so sure about. I've not seen elite coaching from these people. I've not seen the in-game management that you've seen from Tuchel, that you've seen from even Mourinho in his day. That's what you should expect from Manchester United. We've not got that in-game management. They can't turn a game around. In my opinion, they can't change the tactic. And these are just things I've not seen elite level coaching. And Mourinho's not right for the job now, but I've seen elite level coaching from him. You've seen elite level coaching from Tuchel in the Champions League final. I've not quite seen that from these guys, and that's what you want. You don't want other teams looking like, well, you've got Carrick McKenna and Ollie. Ha ha ha. Do you know what I mean? That's average. You want people thinking, wow, they've got a great coaching setup there. Like, we don't know what they're going to do today. They're going to have this well drilled. They've got that well drilled. For me, that's just not what Manchester United is like at the moment. And I would like the coaching to be better. I've got to be honest.
And if we
the thing is, to me, all I'd say is that it's important that I don't even like fixating on the individuals, because that doesn't matter. Like, you can't name me Chelsea's coaches who's doing a training session, because that doesn't matter, right? No. The important thing is, you know, when there's clearly problems within the team and problems in the way we're playing, you know, you expect to see improvement there, right? So you don't need to know who Chelsea's coaches or who Liverpool's coaches are, but when there's a, you know, systematic issue, you see improvement, you see change, you see adjustment. And the problem that we've had is we've seen some of the same issues we've had last year. And so you do start to think, okay, so what is actually going on there?
What's happened over summer?
It's a weird balance, right? Because you sort of go, okay, players being coached, but, you know, they're not, you know, listening to instructions. In that case, you drop players, as simple as, right? No matter who it is, if you're coaching a player and you're telling them to do something, they're not doing it, you don't play them. Or are you not seeing it yourself? Or are you seeing it yourself, but you just don't know how to teach it to the players in a way to get them to actually, like, there's, you know what I mean? Like, this is what the issues are. So, you know, we just desperately want to see improvement, right? That's the bottom line for us as fans. We just want to see improvement in the areas we're clearly weak in.
That's it, mate. It's crazy to think two of our coaches are central midfielders as well, isn't it? It just makes it feel worse. But I mean, Kev Ollie's pretty much said he doesn't coach the players. I mean, so why not be a manager? A manager is putting people in place, the right coaches in place to help you. Do you know what I mean? Ferguson never had a problem changing his coaches around. He needed to adapt to certain managers coming in, a bit of help. He brought in what he needed. The mates, jobs for the mates tag is going to stick, mate. And I think ultimately will be the straw that breaks the camel's back for me in terms of Ollie, because I'm not seeing it. Levin said it then, you need to see improvement on previous mistakes. I see Pep doing it. I see Klopp doing it. Obviously, Tuchel, I'm waiting for him to make a big mistake and see how he sort of turns that around. But this is it, mate. Other teams below us are starting to catch up, mate. And, you know, we're not seeing the changes that we want to see. And Phelan getting this contract is, I think, the biggest concern out of everything that isn't right now at the football club. And if Carrick and McKenna get him, then are we ever going to see change?
Well, it's all about thinking outside the box. And Solskjaer hasn't been in management that long. So who does he trust? For me, it's not a boring appointment. I know Mike Phelan's still attached to Manchester United. Maybe he's still got that link to Ferguson. But, I mean, when you look back, in, say, the 99 season, Sir Alex Ferguson brought in Steve McLaren. And that, for me, was thinking outside the box. Apparently, he come in, revolutionised training, made it really good. You hear all the players say that the ideas that he brought in were absolutely fantastic. And everybody was singing from the same hymn sheet. And the proof is in the pudding. We've seen it on the pitch. And Manchester United went on to win something that no other English club has ever achieved since 99, the treble, which was brilliant and historic. Again, Steve McLaren leaves, becomes a manager in his own right. He brings in Carlos Queiroz, who was a fantastic number 2. Sir Alex Ferguson was absolutely devastated when he left, because he takes on that responsibility. Like you say, Sir Alex Ferguson took the sort of man management side of it. I'll take him in the office. Yes, I'll be there at training watching it. But, you know, we wound down at a certain time, whereas Carlos Queiroz was out there, and it's his method of thinking. He was bringing players like Ronaldo and that kind of thing through. So in a way, Mike Phelan is still that attachment to Ferguson, but I don't know, is Ferguson still kind of looking over, isn't it? And it's, you know, would you not want to get away from that? And we see that story at the weekend. You know, is this the beginning of the cracks starting to show that Sir Alex Ferguson is actually coming out and questioning Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which is something that I don't think any one of us would have thought we'd have seen. I know it was caught on camera. He's not come out and publicly stated it. But to say you start your best players, you do not rest them, I think that's a massive thing, and that the cracks are starting to show. I cannot disagree with what Sir Alex Ferguson said. And before the team sheet come out against Everton, I think it was a massive boost to them. And I think a lot of us fans were probably thinking, well, what's up with Ronaldo? You know, we're coming into an international break. What is he injured? No, he's on the bench. Well, if he's on the bench, he's fit enough to play. So, you know, it's a really strange one. Cannot understand it.
I mean, Ricky messaged me the other day, Beth, as he does quite often now, and he made the point. He basically said, "Look, we were winning the game until Ronaldo came on."
No.
No.
It says no. But I'm actually
No.
Look at it this way. Yeah, look at it this way. Can you all agree? In the first half of that game, we played as a team probably the best we've played in a few games this season, didn't we?
We played
we
well.
Did look good in the first half. No. We looked good in the first half. But that actually leads to the issue, though, Adam. Right? Because you know, sorry to cut you off here. You know, I think you know, I'm seeing Beth's going, no. It's not wrong when Ronaldo and when Fred, even though Fred made the mistake that led to goal, we didn't look any more likely to win the game when Ronaldo came on, right? And that doesn't mean Ronaldo's a bad player or Ronaldo can't work, but you actually look at it, Ronaldo coming in, we've not actually really tailored the system in the way we play to actually get the best out of Ronaldo, right?
No, I agree on that.
When you look at who Ronaldo is as a player now and where he's been very successful the past couple of years, you'd think, oh yeah, you know, we must be getting mad crosses into the box to give him opportunities. We've not been doing that. You look at the crossing numbers, we're like below average in terms of getting crosses in the league, right? So even then, it's like we brought in Ronaldo and he's this great player, greatest player of all time, legend of our club, whatever. But we've not even actually, you know, even tailored certain aspects of the way we play to even, you know, get the best out of him. So you get situations like that game where we didn't play him for whatever reason, right? Oli claims, but he comes on and we don't even actually look any more likely to win because we're not actually even playing to suit him or tailor to him. There's so much just confusing questions going on that make no sense to me. And I'm trying to make sense out of them because if I don't, I'll go crazy and I'll be sitting here like this, talking and going mad. But a lot isn't making sense right now.
I mean, Beth, I knew where you was going with it. Go on.
I agree with the fact we're not playing tailored to Ronaldo, but I don't agree with the fact that when Ronaldo came on, that's why we
no,
ended up drawing the game.
It's basically saying maybe, like Levin says, then we change how we're playing to try and maybe make it work for Ronaldo, and we sort of lost our way a little bit. I mean, I know Fred dropped an absolute clanger and cost us again. Well, I mean, I'm looking at chances creating.
Ronaldo, before that game, it was 5 and 5 that he'd scored. So your top scorer, like Kev said, he's not the reason that we drew that game, and he won't be the reason that we're losing games. Yes, he doesn't press as much as other strikers, and I agree with that. And yes, I would like to play Cavani more. And yeah, I wasn't mad at the fact Ronaldo was dropped. Personally, for me, I thought the midfield's my problem. I wasn't annoyed that Ronaldo was dropped and Cavani came in because I think Cavani's a top striker, and I thought he did really well that first half. I actually didn't think he should have been subbed off. Personally, for me, like, that's not my issue.
That's more of the problem than Ronaldo coming on, I think.
But to say that when Ronaldo came on, like, that's why we lost, like, we drew it. That's not, for me, that's not it. Fred dropped a howler. I thought we slowed down our place down massively. I don't think that's particularly to do with Ronaldo. I think we just slowed off and tried to go a little bit more defensive because we had that 1-0. And like Bruno said in his post-match interview, when we score, we made the same mistakes. We slowed down. we stopped fully going for that second goal. And that's where the problem is. I don't think the problem's
But
with
you
Ronaldo
realise
because
that
he scored 5 and 5. And yes, the play style's different, but that's down to the coaching to try and make that work. You've got to be getting crosses in. You've got to be catering the chances to Ronaldo. The fact he's not going to press.
Rolls into that question that we asked when we signed Ronaldo. Has Ole got the capabilities to handle Ronaldo coming into this team? And that was a bit of a tester for him the first time he dropped him. I think this is going to be a problem for Ole in managing it, because we've got Rashford coming back in the next game, no doubt. And then I'm really thinking, how is Cavani and Ronaldo? How is he going to work this? I'm looking at Sancho. I'm starting to worry. And then all the problems of last season with the sort of favourite player tag start to veer the head again for me. And this is where I think this is where he is going to struggle. I don't think he has got the managerial capabilities to handle a player like Ronaldo and bringing him in and playing him in certain games. That's just the way I see it. That's my biggest concern with him. And it's not Ronaldo's fault. Definitely right, Bev. It's not. But I just feel like because Ronaldo's there, I think he's going to cause a problem for Ole going forward. I don't know what you guys think about that.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's in-game management. Like, you can't just put a player on, throw them out there that plays differently to the player you've got on and expect it to all work out. You've got to change your game. You've got to change your tactics. You've got to change your play style. And I don't feel like that's what happened. I feel like he just went, there you go.
Yeah.
Like, go and score a goal. But that's not how it works. It's so
Did it need to change? Kev?
No. I'll say I'm singing from the same hymn sheet on the fact of the signing of Ronaldo for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be the big beginning of the end of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, I always thought it would be Fred and McTominay. As long as he persisted with them in the middle of the park, I said he'll have nobody to blame except himself if he persists with playing them two. And the more I thought about it the other day, and the way that Ronaldo walked off that pitch against Everton, he was fuming that United had drew. But I'd say more from an egotistical point of view, it was fuming that he'd been left on the bench, almost like, how dare you kind of thing. And I honestly think it will be the beginning of the end. Solskjaer has never managed players like that, regardless of whether he played with Ronaldo. He played with a very different Ronaldo, this one that's come back now. He's not here to make up the numbers. He's not here for the money. He's not an Alexis Sanchez, not here for the payday. He genuinely is here to win trophies at Manchester United. He wants to put us back on the map, make us competitive. So from that sense, if Solskjaer cannot manage that and manage these players, it's a thing that we've all been on about. Can he manage these egos? They are big egos. You've got Pogba, Martial, Ronaldo, Cavani. How do you keep them all happy? Jadon Sancho, Rashford. It's so, I wouldn't like it. I would not like that job of trying to keep them happy. Solskjaer is going to have to try and do it, but I really do stick by the Ronaldo signing. It could finish him off.
Well, maybe.
Ronaldo's not gone 10 years trophyless. Let's just put it that way. 10 years he's not gone trophyless. So.
Well, they're not going to get rid of Ronaldo, are they? And player power, as much as I hate it, they're not going to get rid of the players and go, let's get rid of them. You know, they've started bad-mouthing Solskjaer, bad-mouthing about training and stuff. We've seen the way it goes. We've seen it with Louis van Gaal. We've seen it with Mourinho. Next up, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yep. T. Whaler to finish us off. United's lack of ambition is bigger than Ronaldo's ambition. Otherwise, Ole would have been fired. Huh? Well, finish on that bombshell. Guys, thanks for coming in. All the super chats, everyone in the chat on point again tonight. Thanks for joining us this Thursday. Before we go, 11, cheers for coming on, mate. Absolutely brilliant as usual, pal.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
And Kev there, in with the fans. Not happy.
Loving it. Very quiet. I don't know what's up with them, but it must be because of the
takeover.
I think it's the Newcastle takeover, yeah. Let that sink in. I still cannot believe it. Newcastle, the richest club in the world.
Doesn't sound right. That just doesn't sound right, does it?
No, now Beth knows how much that owner has got. She's even more worried. Cheers for coming on, Beth.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Don't forget, guys, subscribe to the United Stand. Give the video a like, as always. We're out of here. We'll be back over the weekend. Internationals, I don't know. I'm not really that bothered, I'll be honest. But yeah, bring on a week on Saturday against Leicester, and we'll be building up to that before that comes. Cheers, guys, for watching. Bye-bye.